It's 1919. World War I has just drawn to a close. Soldiers are coming home, families are reunited, and suddenly, 9 months later, there's an explosion in the rate of baby boys born all over the world. What's happening? Is it divine intervention to even the balance? Or is there another explanation? Stick with me as we discover why more baby boys are born after wars. Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome to Curiosity Squad. When you look around the world, it seems neatly divided into half males and half females, so you might think that the chances of any random baby being born male or female is 50-50, but that's not entirely correct. Usually, about 104 boys are born for every 100 girls, but sometimes that rate changes dramatically. Take England and Wales in 1973. They had the highest rate of baby boys born in the entire 20th century, 110 boys for every 100 girls. So what's going on? Why do some years have more baby boys than others? First, we need to explore something called the returning soldier effect. As I mentioned, soldiers come home from war and suddenly there's a boom in the number of baby boys. And this phenomenon isn't just a one-time thing. We see it happen again at the end of World War II, once again when soldiers from all across Europe are returning home to be with their families. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, how does that lead to more baby boys? Well, this is where things get interesting. The theory goes like this. When soldiers return home, there's a surge in, shall we say, romantic reunions. These reunions lead to more frequent sexual activity, which obviously leads to more babies being conceived. But this unexpectedly leads to a rise in the rate of baby boys being born compared to girls. The thing is, any event that triggers long separations and then joyful reunions can actually trigger this effect. Think about sailors returning from long voyages or modern day workers returning from extended business trips. Our bodies seem to keep score, waiting for the exact right moment to tip the scales even further towards baby boys. But why boys and not girls? Well, that's the million-dollar question, and we'll come back to a more detailed explanation of that in a minute. But for now, we need to understand that this effect has been observed across all different time periods and cultures. It's really not just a quirk of Western society. We're talking about a pattern that spans continents and centuries, like some sort of hidden biological rhythm beating underneath the surface of human history. So if war and separation can influence the sex of our babies, what else might be going on beneath the surface? The moment of conception really is about being in the right place at the right time, being there at the exact right moment in a woman's fertility cycle. Women are only fertile for between 2 and 10 days in a month, so for the majority of days in a month, it's impossible to conceive a baby. And we've recently discovered that the earlier in this fertility window that conception occurs, the higher the chances of having a baby boy. Then, as the days progress, this preference sort of balances out a bit. But why does this happen? Well, it all comes down to some pretty subtle changes inside a woman's body. You see, earlier in the fertility cycle, the environment inside a woman's body is slightly different. The hormones are at different levels, and the acidity levels are slightly altered as well. And these tiny changes can make a big difference to the swimming sperm. You see, sperm carrying the Y chromosome, which makes boys, are a bit more delicate than their X chromosome counterparts. They're like the sports cars of the sperm world, fast, but not great at enduring tough conditions. But when the environment inside is just right earlier in the cycle, they do stand a better chance of winning the race to the egg. Now, connecting this back to our returning soldiers, as we've mentioned, when couples reunite, they tend to make up for lost time. And the more sex you have, the higher the chances of hitting that early fertility cycle sweet spot, as if you're going to be having sex more regularly, the chances are higher that you're going to be having sex on the day when the woman becomes fertile. And as once you're pregnant, you obviously then can't get pregnant again a couple of days later when the odds are more balanced. This then means that the chances overall favour having a boy. And as we've already mentioned, this isn't just about wartime. Any situation that leads to more frequent sex can then tip the scales towards more baby boys. It is worth mentioning that these are tiny statistical shifts, nudging the odds ever so slightly in one direction or the other. This means it isn't noticed on an individual level, and you can't use this knowledge to try and game the system. So while timing is a big part of this puzzle, it doesn't, however, explain everything. The spikes in the rates of baby boys are simply too high. There must be other factors at play. So we've talked about timing and we've talked about biology, but there's another player at work here as well: genetics. Now you might think our genes are all about our eye colour or height, but it turns out our genetics could actually be influencing the sex of our babies as well. New research suggests that there may be a gene that's active only in men that influences the sex of the babies that they go on to have. Men who come from families with lots of brothers are more likely to have sons themselves. Now this may not be surprising, but how does this help to explain the rate of baby boys after war? Well, it's all about probabilities. This mystery gene might make it more likely for sperm to favour the Y chromosome, which makes boys, or the X chromosome, which makes girls. The types of men to survive war are often bigger, healthier, and stronger. Now, if these men are also the ones that carry this Y chromosome favouring gene, then when they come home and start families, this could help to explain more baby boys. Now remember, this is just a hypothesis. Scientists have not found the exact gene responsible for this yet, if indeed it exists. But if you think about it, if it is true, it could mean that your great-grandfather, who fought in a war many decades ago, could be going on to influence the gender of a baby that you might have tomorrow. And there's something kind of amazing about that, if it is true. So we've talked about wars, timing, and genetics, but now let's take a second and zoom out to see the big picture. More boys being born during tough times might actually help our species to survive overall. But how? Well, here's a thought that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. In high-risk environments, men are kind of just more disposable. I know it sounds harsh, but hear me out. In terms of pure biology, one man can father many children. However, women are far more limited in the amount of children that they can have. So if you're in nature and you're trying to keep the human race going during tough times, more males just makes more sense. It's like buying more lottery tickets when the jackpot's high. But nature isn't always about high drama and survival. Remember that spike in boy births that I mentioned in 1973 in England and Wales? That wasn't during wartime. That was actually because of big social changes. More teenagers were having babies and more young people were sexually active. These societal shifts mimicked the effects we see after wars. It's like our bodies responding to the world around us even when there's no actual conflict. Social upheaval, economic uncertainty, and even major cultural shifts, these could all be influencing the ratio of boys to girls being born. It seems our reproductive systems are a bit like biological scales, sensing societal pressures and then adjusting accordingly. But here's where it gets really wild. This isn't just a human thing. In tough times, many species have been seen to increase their rate of male offspring. It's like some sort of universal biological response to turbulent times across the animal kingdom. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, if more boys are born after tough times, why do we have a higher rate of baby boys being born anyway? Good question. And the answer is because even in normal times, baby boys are just a bit more fragile. They're more likely to die from disease, and they are far, far more accident prone. So that slight edge in male births during stable times is actually just nature's way of evening the odds by the time we all reach adulthood. This whole system is incredibly complicated. It's not just about X and Y chromosomes coming together, it's about timing, the environment, our stress levels, and even subconscious biological signals responding to the world around us. Our bodies could be making tiny adjustments all the time, fine-tuning the next generation based on what we experience around us. But here's something to think about. As our world changes, will these patterns change too? In an age of increasing gender equality, do we still even need nature's balancing act? Or will our biology adapt to our new social realities? We might be witnessing evolution in action right before our very eyes. So what have we learned? The sex of our babies is not just a coin flip. It's influenced by war, genetics, and societal shifts. Our bodies seem to be secretly in tune with the world around us, even down to the very chromosomes that we pass on. It's like we're part of some huge secret experiment being run by nature. Major events, from wars to social changes, might leave their mark on our very DNA. And what we do today might influence the lives of our descendants long, long after we're gone. And while we're on the subject of actions and their consequences, if you like this video, the only way to let YouTube know is to like, to share, and to subscribe. I'll see you next time.